Welcome back to the Good Performance Podcast. This is our second take with Sam, so hopefully it's better.
What's up, guys?
Sam Allred joining the show. He's, some would say, the most interesting athlete on the planet, interesting man in the planet. Some being Brandon and myself. I think Troy will agree with us after we're done with this interview. I'm sure we won't be able to fit his entire story into it, but I'll leave the intro to Brandon, Sam, whoever wants to introduce him. We'll keep it pretty casual, but there's a lot here, so you might want to break up listening to this into a couple segments, because I'm sure even this first episode will be pretty long, but there's a lot here, and hopefully you guys enjoy this episode, because I think it'll be one for the books.
Yeah, we're here with Sam, the most interesting man in the world, definitely a contender. I'll start briefly by saying that the first episode when we tried to record this, it kind of was indicative, I think, of his career, his athletic career. It was like, this is going to be phenomenal. And it was absolute dog shit. We got, did not record. But we're bouncing back, man. That's a grit factor, and that's going to be a huge element of this episode. And real briefly, before we get started, I got to tell a story of how I met Sam. So we were in rookie camp at USABS in Lake Placid together. I just got to the airport in Albany, New York. If you've ever come from the West Coast, you know how long it takes, 12, 14-hour travel day. So I'm exhausted. I'm in a terrible mood. I get off my plane. I grew up with a lot of Mormons, so I see a guy in the stereotypical Mormon outfit, got the short sleeve, buttoned up, slacks. And I'm like, damn, I text my friends. I say, this is crazy. Could you imagine being a Mormon missionary and your mission is in Albany, New York? That would be horrible. And then I get to the van, to the Olympic Training Center. I'm sitting there. I'm just really in a bad mood. I'm not talking to anyone. And I see the same guy pull up and he's walking towards the van. And I'm like, no fucking way. There is no way this guy is part of this crew that's, going to this rookie camp. Sam pulls up and he goes, hey, is this the bus to the Olympics? And I'm like, just rolling my eyes. I'm like, I can't believe this guy. He gets inside. He pulls out his phone. We're in this van for like 10 seconds. It just takes off. He doesn't ask for anyone's consent. He starts filming. He goes, hey, man, I'm vlogging. We're on our way to the Olympic Training Center. And I'm like, dude, I think I'm going to absolutely despise this guy.
Sorry for being excited to get invited to the Olympic Training Center.
By the end of it, I remember you needed a water bottle the second day, and you texted the group chat, and I had an extra water bottle. And you're like, hey, anyone got an extra water bottle? And I'm like sitting there for an hour looking at my phone, like, do I give this guy water or not? And I did concede. Last minute, I gave him water. But by the end of it, Sam, whatever it was, 5 days, I learned a ton about you. Amazing story. Loved this dude by the end of it. Just incredible guy. I remember we got on the van at 2 a.m. to go back to the airport, and we're all saying bye to everyone. Everyone gets on the van but Sam. I'm like, Sam, where are you going? And he's like, I think I saw a hostel down the street, so I might just go stay there for a couple days. And I think that was really, I didn't realize it at the time, but I think that was really indicative of the Sam's journey and his mindset of just kind of, I don't even know, just going at it and figuring something out. And so, yeah. From there, Sam, let's hear your story. I know it's a crazy thing from BYU walk-on to dragon boat racing to everything. Let's hear it.
Can I share absolutely. When I first met Sam? Because I liked Sam when I first met him.
I don't get that a lot, so I don't get that very much, Otto. I appreciate you saying that.
He was playing chess. We had a conversation. I was like, wow, what a nice guy. What a great guy. And that was it.
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it.
Much better judge of character, I guess.
Yeah. No. No, same to you, Brandon. I see you as truly one of my best friends and someone I have no doubt will be at each other's weddings one day if things ever work out, and our second weddings after our first ones don't work out.
We'll be in the bunker together when it all goes
exactly.
down.
Yeah. Well, I know that you guys' audience is a lot of high schoolers and college athletes who are hoping to play at the next level for whatever that is for them. So I was thinking we could start. I'd love to share. So I was a walk-on. It was always my dream to play Division I football at Brigham Young University growing up. In Texas, football is kind of like a second religion. And that was always like imprinted in my mind as like, I want to play for BYU. I want to play for BYU. So if you guys are cool with that, we can start for like the story of like what my walk-on journey looked like. And if you guys have any questions, you can stop me. But maybe that'll be informative for some of your listeners who are trying to go through the walk-on journey. I think there's hopefully some lessons there. And then we can talk about other things, bobsled, travels, entrepreneurship, the ways that we figure out how to make sports and being an adult's work. Yeah. What do you guys think? Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's great. We have a lot of coaches that listen too. So I think both from athlete and coaching side, just share the story. But I think these stories are important for both athletes and coaches to hear too, because it's one thing when you're an ambitious, 18, 19-year-old to say, I'm going to do this big thing and chase it with a little bit of, delusional optimism in
Right.
some, to put it lightly, I guess. But it's another thing when you have the responsibility and you're coaching these kids, right? Where you're, 10, 20 years into a coaching career and you're a little bit more of a realist, and you also bear the responsibility of advising someone where it's, hey, that's not really a realistic goal, but how do you manage it and how do you kind of see through the I don't know, I would guess the intangibles to figure out what kid would benefit the most from that kind of support or belief to be able to do those
Totally.
big things.
Yeah, because you want to have that optimism. You don't want to do anything with that because that's your fuel. But you want to pair that with knowledge of what the process is actually going to look like. Yeah, awareness that maybe it might not be for someone. And maybe that if knowing that upfront changes your life, that's probably a good thing. So yeah, I guess so. What blew me away right when I showed up for walk-ons freshman year, I'd been training like all my football skills and like been in the weight room and lifting. And I thought like they're going to be impressed by me. They're going to see this well-rounded guy who knows ball and has been lifting weights. He looks pretty strong and played in Texas, and that's going to be great. And what it really was, and this is like the number one thing that I would tell my freshman self as a walk-on is like, it is a straight up track meet. Like they care about, at least at BYU and the other walk-ons that I've talked to, the only thing that is really going to get their attention is speed. They had all of us, there were 60 of us walk-ons, and they lined us all up. I mean, first you show up, they give you the physical form, you go and take that. A week later, you come back, you're super scared, you walk in, everyone else around you, you're all sizing each other up. But then the way you look doesn't matter, because what they did for us, they lined us all up. They had us run 40 yards. They didn't even have a stopwatch. And then the 4 first guys to cross the line, they had them run drills, and we're looking at them to see if they could, move around. But I don't even think they cared about that so much as like, are you fast or not? If you're fast, then we're interested. If you're not, it's a non-starter. So that's like my biggest thing is like, if you're not an actual recruit coming out of high school, the biggest thing is just to be as fast and as big as you can. But first, fast, speed kills. So I was cut. I was probably like 45th out of the group of 60. And I asked the coaches afterward, I was like, well, that was eye-opening. Like, what would you want to see? And this is a thing I would say, to have this conversation with the coaches after your tryout or before, ideally. What would you like to see from your ideal walk-on? Tell me the 40 time, tell me the weight, tell me what are the metrics? And for them, they gave me 2 metrics. They said, we want you weighing 200 pounds and running a 4.640. I was like, okay, I've got my marching orders. And at the time I was 182 and I ran a 5.0840. So that was me peaking for this tryout.
Tapered
Yeah.
specifically for the walk-on tryout.
Yeah, I guess I'll stop there from the walk-on. Do you guys have any questions about that?
Well, so 2 things. One, I think something that a lot of people would be curious about is, so you go to the tryout. You've been training for the tryout, right?
Yep.
You didn't just show up, like maybe you hit the field a couple times. You're training for it. This is the lifelong dream, and you basically fall on your face. You were cut. It was like you studied for a test, and your study guide was like not right.
Yeah.
It was
exactly.
something that
it was the wrong study guide entirely.
Wrong study guide completely. Right. So I want to focus on what was your thought process after you pretty much, failed. Like it was over, right? So what about those few weeks after getting cut? You were you're 40 guys away from being one of the top guys to make the roster. So you're sitting at the bottom of the class. Your study guide was wrong. You failed miserably. What was the thought process after that moving forward? Because we know the story doesn't stop there, but I think for a lot of people, it does stop there. When they go for a tryout, they go for a competition, they work really, really hard. They do everything they can, and they just completely miss the mark.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to say, I was motivated. I bounced right back. But honestly, I straight up gave up in that little period. It was I said, wow, they have just told me a version of myself that I will never be. Cause like, you can't just become a 4.6 guy if you're a 5.0 guy peaked. I didn't know at the time that speed was something that was teachable. And that if you have not been training with an actual coach, if you're just doing your own thing, you're not going to learn how to be fast like that. I didn't know any of that. I thought you kind of are what you are. Maybe you take off a few hundredths here or there, but you're not going to move by an order of magnitude in any direction. So, to be honest, like I was hoping that after getting cut, that it would cure me of the very desire to go after it anymore. After playing in high school, I went on a mission for my church. I served for 2 years. And on my mission, I was thinking like, hopefully when I get home, I won't want to play football anymore because this is torturing me that I still have this desire. And then I was like, no, it's still there. So I trained, I had the tryout, got cut. And I'm like, there, you know what? Now I can say I gave it my all. I'm free. But it didn't go away. The itch was still there. And it took me a few months to realize that. Like the first couple weeks after, I was like, all right, good. Wash my hands of it. I did the best I can. They basically asked me, to them, it was like asking me to become 6'5". Like, you can't change your height. You can't change your speed. It's over. But then, yeah, the itch came back and I was stuck with it and it was still torturing me. So yeah, that was kind of the immediate process. I realized like, this is still here.
So it's still there. How do you go about building your next study guide? You're going to try again. When did you decide you were going to do it again? And then how did you approach this kind of training block or preparation cycle differently than, yes, Troy?
Maybe this question is, I mean, I'm just curious. Were you good in high school? Like you played at Texas high school football. Were you a starter? Were you very good? Or was this aspiration to go walk on to BYU completely ridiculous? Like you barely even played in high school. You're like, you know what? I'm going to walk on. Like where were you at talent-wise in the football world?
That's a great question. So I worked my way up to be a starter by the time spring ball came before going into my senior year. So I was slated to start my senior year on varsity for the first time. I hadn't played a snap of varsity up to that point. And then in spring ball, I tore my ACL. So I did not play my senior year. And that was a big part of why I felt this sense of like incompleteness, is because I never got to express what I felt like was a talent that I'd been working on and building. So no, I never played a snap.
Varsity snap.
No, I never
in
played
high
a
school.
varsity snap. Never played a varsity
okay.
snap.
That makes the story that much better.
I had no idea. That's
That makes the story so much better, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we know that Sam has this innate belief in himself. He puts all this time into training for this thing. He has really zero validation from the world that this is a feasible dream at this point. He's gotten cut and failed. And
he's yet to play varsity football.
He's yet to play varsity football.
And then I remember asking my coaches, because they asked at the walk-on, like, hey, here's a link here to attach any film, which I don't even know if they watched that. Once again, speed is king. But they said, like, you can't leave this box empty. We need to see film. And I was like, so I remember emailing my high school coaches, like, do you guys have any like film from like our spring scrimmages or anything like that? They're like, no, we don't have any of that crap. So I ended up like, I think I uploaded like an interception I had like in a JV game was like the best I had for film. Yeah.
All right, Sam. So we're in the winter time now, I'm assuming. Winter or spring after it's your freshman year at BYU. I think you went, if I'm not mistaken, you didn't stop at football, right? You went out for multiple teams at BYU. Is that correct?
Yeah. So freshman year, tried out for football. Sophomore year, I was like, if I can't be fast, I can still be like a strong guy who likes to hit people, because that was my favorite thing, is just smacking people. So I tried out for the rugby team, and then it looked like I might maybe have a place there. I remember after the first rugby tryout, they basically threw us straight into scrimmaging, and I had a big hit on some guy, and one of this big Polynesian coach said, "Oh, bro, come over here. What's your name?" He wrote it down. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm on this team." And then I didn't make the team for that either. I'm like, man, what is this? So that was my sophomore year, and then my junior year. So yeah, no, we're year 3, third tryout. This time I was on an exchange program in Hong Kong, and this will connect to travel stories later on. But I tried out again, this time for a collegiate boating team, and it's called dragon boating. It's basically where you're sitting in like a super long canoe with like 20 other little Asian dudes, and you each have a paddle, but you're just on one side. And at the front is this little dude who has like kind of like the Ara farming kid. He's got his hand, he's kind of directing you and saying, Sai Hung, Sama. And you're like kind of going in cadence with him. So that was the first collegiate team that I ever made, was while I was on this exchange program at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And then it was me and a bunch of like 5'6" Cantonese dudes. And I'm just boating with them in the nights. And it's like our practices were like from 9 to 11 at night. I don't know why, but we're just going up and down the Hong Kong Bay with these skyscrapers around in the background. And I'm like, man, this is great. And that definitely scratched the itch of like, maybe this is what I've been training for. I'm an athlete now. This is great.
So this is after your freshman year, you tried out for football. Was it your sophomore year that you tried out for rugby?
Yep. Sophomore year, tried out for rugby, made it to round 2 of that one, and then slashed.
Okay. So this is multiple years. So you kind of back burner football for a while. You're like, okay, they said no, I got to try something else. Like, I know I have to compete in something. I want
But football was
sports.
still the dream. Like even then, I'm like, what am I doing? Like if football came back, like in a heartbeat, I would, sell my left hand. Like I don't care. Like that was still all this other stuff was just like it was cool, but it wasn't the thing.
Yeah, you were like something to do. But
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had tried out, like it was years after.
Mhm.
So it was football, rugby, and then
Dragon boating.
dragon boating.
Dragon boating.
Dragon boating. I'll have to look that sport up because it sounds
Otto's
fun.
next
I'm a
call.
hey, big fan of kayaking. So once
Yeah.
the legs stop working, I've always put that in the
So-
horizon.
This after 3.5 weeks, 1 month maybe on the dragon boat team, I was cut from that one too. And at this point, man, I was so
Troy's over there laughing, bro.
I'm serious, bro. Like that was like maybe one of the lowest points of my life was like
Sorry.
year 3. I finally made it onto this, like the only niche thing that would accept me, and they cut me. I'm like,
What was their reasoning? You just weren't rowing fast enough, or
Or did they
no.
just kind of look at you and just go, "Hey, you."
yeah, they're looking at the line. Never mind.
I mean, I can. Do you want me to? I can share the story of why I got cut, but I don't know if it really adds value.
If you don't think it adds value, you don't have to. But if it's
It's just-
entertaining, it could be.
Well, it has to do with understanding cultural differences. Well, let's touch on
Cultural
difference. Why?
difference. Can you abbreviate it?
Yeah, let's get a summary.
Unless
All right, fine. Here's what happened.
discretion.
So we're
Yeah, here
dragon
you go.
boating, right? And they have tryouts. He was going to be on the national traveling dragon boat team. These are like, they can select 6 of us that are going to compete, and they're going to go to like South Korea and Vietnam. We're going to be like boating in all these different bays all over the place. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. Let's time to ball out. And so they have a certain like style of boating that they do, where they do these big, long, very like technically accurate strokes. And I'm like, you guys have been doing this for years. There's no way I'm going to be able to do that. But I'm just going to go like monster mode, and I'm just going to go bah, 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 as fast as I can. And so we had the tryout, and basically everyone's in the boat, and instead of having everyone row, they just have one person row. And then you're pulling the whole boat along, just one person. And it's whoever can cross this line quick enough, that's who they're going to take onto the national team, right? And so I start, when it's my turn, I just go, bah, 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 bah. And they're literally saying, because I'm doing the stroke wrong, they're like, stop, not the way. This is forbidden. Bah, bah, bah. And I crossed the line quicker than the captain, than Coach Ken. Like the way that I had done it was faster than their guy. And I'm like, I'm on, right, baby? Take me on the team. Let's go to Korea.
So what you're telling me is you got
Forbidden
cut by
method.
implementing the forbidden rowing technique, the forbidden paddling the technique that is unacceptable, the
The
verboten
fastest
technique of
technique,
paddling.
but it's unacceptable.
It's forbidden.
Unacceptable. Forbidden. And so I was so pissed. So I wake up the next day after I'd done this. I'm thinking I'm about to get a text telling me on the national team. And instead I got a text saying that I had been moved over to train with the women's team instead. And so I messaged the captain, said, what's this all about? Like, I literally had a faster time than, and I shouldn't have said this. I literally had a faster time than you, man. Like, how come you're moving me over to the women's boat? And then they say, oh, and for that, you are no longer part of the dragon boat team, because on our team, we row as one. This does not work. That is not one. And I guess the logic is that if everybody were doing it like that, it wouldn't work. And the fastest way collectively to go the quickest on a dragon boat is to have everybody going in like smooth succession.
They should have explained that before they just had you solo go. And it's like, all right, who can cross the line the fastest? And you're pushing by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It was a really flawed tryout process. But anyways,
I think that's across multiple sports, but also even explaining from the BYU walk-on tryout to this, there seems to be an element of, if you're to see this kind of pattern, and I think this is common across almost every sport tryout combine, where sometimes what coaches or a team is looking for is not actually what they say publicly or what they tell
For sure.
competitors what they're looking for. We see
Yeah,
that
exactly.
in bobsled all the time.
right. Yeah, man.
But, yeah. All right,
was
so
crazy. That was
You're in
After
Hong
steamboating, you
you're in
cut.
Hong Kong. Done. Forbidden technique was implemented. Banned.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the other thing, going back to cultural understanding. I didn't know that my own teammate had the power to cut me, but that's how they did it. Like, he was the captain, and I had bruised his ego, and I didn't realize that I was actually talking to the head decision maker when I was expressing this frustration. but that he was the one, and he was like, just slit my throat, GG. So at this point, I was so discouraged. Like, I know we're laughing about it, but like, I was genuinely so sad about this because like I'd gotten really close to these guys. I thought this was finally my break into sports. Maybe I'm going to be some kind of like Asian superstar. I don't know. This is it. And now I'm nothing again. And at this point, I dropped out of school entirely. So I withdrew from my courses at this school in Hong Kong, and I said, this is all done. I'm done with school. I don't even like studying anyways. I really just want to be an athlete. That was the only thing holding me to like actual education, which is sad because like, yeah, like I am a smart guy. Like I was on scholarship at BYU for academics, but I was unhappy. I left, and that's when the traveling era began. So we can revisit all this, but basically I said, I'm going to travel to all 7 continents, and I'm going to do odd jobs to pay my way. I'm not coming home till I've made it all around the world and finished in Antarctica.
This is what time period? This is after your sophomore year, like
this
spring,
is
summer?
Halfway through junior year.
Halfway through junior year. So like winter to spring, junior year, you say, you know what, I'm just going to travel everywhere.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Say I'm out. Peace college. Peace sporting dreams.
So you start, give us like if it was like a map and we had like a Sam Allred icon that's like hopping around, and then you put a different hat on for what job you're doing. See if you could do that. Maybe we'll try to, I'm sure there's tech to make a little graphic while you can talk through this.
So, starting off in England, in Europe, drop down to the Alps, do some skiing. I had half the previous summer, I'd done summer sales. And so I put all that money into a business selling key holders on Amazon called Ease Keys. Moved out to China, meet some suppliers out there. While I'm out here, Ease Keys totally fails. So now multiple nights I end up sleeping on a park bench trying to recoup my losses from my failed key holder business. Then I start selling socks and backpacks from street holders, and I sell them on Instagram. And I become a traveling sock salesman. My prospects are rising. I use that to make it over to Hawaii and down to Australia. Camp out in Australia for about 5 weeks, lived with a group of Polynesians who took me in. We had great times. There I started the business doing resume writing for immigrants moving to Australia from Southeast Asia who didn't speak English. They were looking for jobs. So now I'm helping them. But the journey must go on. I go to South Africa. South Africa, I don't have enough money to actually stay at a place. So I stay on the airport floor for 9 days was what it was. But during this time, I'm still saving up money to finish the journey to make it to Antarctica and go home by writing resumes for the people in Australia who are migrating from Southeast Asia. So I'm like, this is a really weird setup. Like I would wake up in the morning, I'd have my morning routine at the airport. I wake up, work out with my backpack in sight, type resumes all day, go hang out with the people, the locals in South Africa, and explore around a little bit. Then I'd say, all right, guys, I'm going home. When really home was back to the airport. And then eventually made enough, over to South America, Argentina, miracles, caught a boat down to Antarctica to finish the journey, and then went home to Texas. So that was its own saga. I'll be write a book about all that. But
I think that's like
another episode.
That's another episode for
How
sure.
long did all that
Bonus
take?
content.
1 year.
1 full year.
Yeah, this is 1 full year.
It's a lot.
And at this point, I have no intention of going back to school. Like it's all, the ship has sailed.
It's
All the
done.
ship has
It's
sailed.
done. It's done.
You're
So
you're done.
But then God
we're
created
in
the
Texas.
pandemic. Yeah, God created the pandemic just for me. And he said, traveling is done. Boom. I said, what? And I'm just kidding. RIP to everyone. COVID, sad stuff. No joke.
Thanks for the disclaimer.
Mask
Back
up.
to Texas. You travel all 7 continents.
Mask
You go
up,
back
get
to
the vax.
Texas.
I'm all about it. Anyways, mask up. Home in Texas. COVID hits. And now there's no more traveling. It's just like, well, what do I do? Like, and in this place of stillness and silence of the pandemic and all this confidence gained through, I think, being my own man for that time and hustling to figure things out, that itch came back with stronger than ever in my entire life. Stronger than when I got home from my mission going into that first tryout. Stronger than like the anger I felt after getting cut from the Dragon Boat team was, I still want to play football for BYU. So I re-enrolled, and I remember those metrics they gave me: 4.6 40, 200 pounds. And I haven't run a 40 in a year now. And I am praying and like asking God straight up, like, what do I need to do to be able to make this either get cured or go away or whatever needs to happen? What needs to happen here?
Did you lose weight in your time away too? Like when you
Yeah.
left at 180 pounds or whatever,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
were
when I got
gone for a
back,
year
now I'm-
across.
Yeah, because you forget to eat when you're on the road for a while too. So now I'm probably in like 176.
So you got 30 pounds to gain now.
Yeah. And I reinflated a little bit, being back home for COVID, coming into anyways, the idea popped in my head, like, all right, let's just who is the fastest man in the NFL? Maybe you can train with him. And so I looked it up, and the NFL combine record holder was John Ross. And on the article that popped up, it says John Ross, the man who went from a 4.5 something 40 to a 4.22. And I was like, what? That's insane. And I was like, who was the speed coach of this man? And it was Gary Cablayan, who lived out in Long Beach, California. So then I was like, okay, what is Gary Cablayan's email? Found his email, emailed him, said, hey, these are the numbers that my coaches have given me. Is this even possible? I know you trained John Ross. Like, price aside, is this something that can be done? And he said, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. And I was like, sure, no problem. What? It's like, okay, well, what would it cost to be able to come out and work with you? He's like, things are slow right now with COVID. Honestly, I can work you into my rotation if you want to come out to Long Beach. So that's what I did. I got in my car and I drove from Texas to Long Beach, California. This was summer of 2020. Now it's going into my senior year. I'm re-enrolling into college for the sole purpose of trying to make it onto the BYU football team.
And what does that look like, California? You just pack it up, get out there. So what's going on?
Back it up, get out there. My dad was helpful. He knew that this was important to me. He gave me his blessing, and he gave me $1,500, which was enough to be able to cover food while I was out there, but not enough to cover housing, and not enough to even to cover food for the entirety of the summer. So here's what my day-to-day life looks like. I sleep 3 or 4 nights a week. I sleep in my car with the back seat down, and I roll the window down. I'm near the beach and hear the ocean. It's not as bad as it sounds. The other 3 days a week, I would treat myself and stay at the Venice Beach hostel, which was like $30 a night. So I'm really splurging on myself, showing some self-love there by checking myself into a hostel. But those were like the luxury nights. I'd get like a good shower. The back of my trunk, I have 2 giant things of mass gainer and then just like a stack of bread. And that's basically my nutrition plan, along with tons of water and creatine. And to make money during the day, what I would do, so in the morning, I would train with Gary, and it was just so different than anything I could have come up on my own in terms of just like elite training. I'd never had this kind of coaching before. I'm like, wow, I didn't know what dorsiflexion was. When I would run, and this is a big mistake probably a lot of you guys, high school athletes probably see, it was just super choppy right out of the blocks, just trying to get out as quick as I can. And he just was teaching me, just think big, 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 big. And so he just had me basically, if I were to summarize, the biggest things I learned from him were, we would just do tons and tons of like deadlifts, like heavy things to make my legs as strong as possible, at least for that first half of summer, and making much bigger shapes and just somewhat accurate shapes, which I was not making at all. And then by the end of summer, getting more explosive with things like cleans, more plyos, and jumping around. So I don't know, probably nothing even that revolutionary, but compared to what I had been coming up with myself, was night and day. And then, mornings training with Coach Gary, doing sprints at Chittick Field. And then in the afternoons, the way I came up with this idea was I got locked out of my car like the first day there and had to pay $300 of my $1,500 to get a locksmith to get me into my car. And it was it pissed me off, man. They showed up, they put a little like whoopee cushion into my door, then reached into the car and went boom, boom, opened up my car. Like, that took you 5 minutes. And then I paid, like $200 or $300. I'm like, that was insane. So I went on Amazon and I bought one of those locksmith packs that he had and said, I'm just going to start doing this myself. And I threw up a Google ad saying Sammy G, same day locksmith for LA. And I spoke Spanish. So I would do it for like Hispanics in the area too. Cerejero de Puertas, llámame ahora. And I would click on. So as soon as I get out of training, I click on my Google ads after getting some nutrition. And I drive around LA County, busting people into their cars. And I would charge a good rate, man. I would charge like $80, which was very reasonable compared to what all these other guys were charging. Wasn't insured, didn't have any kind of licensing. I was just helping people out. And if they asked, I would tell them, like, are you insured? I'm like, no, dude, I'm just a guy with a locksmith pack and I can help you right now. I can do it for way less than the other guy. Are you interested in that? And they'd be like, honestly, yeah, come on over. Great.
Did you ever think that you were aiding any sort of break-ins? Or was it just like, I just need the jobs? Did you ever ask for proof that it was their car?
Never.
You're a mercenary. So basically what you're telling us is the way you earned a living was you were a mercenary mobile blacksmith.
Yeah. I never thought about
like
that,
Skyrim.
but yeah, dude, I might have helped. I might have aided some crime.
I don't think you did. I think you were just helping people on a budget to get that had
I think
the
pure of
unfortunate
heart and
problem.
the universe guided you to only people
Where'd
that
you put
needed
the
you.
ad again? Where'd you put the ad up?
Google.
Just on Google? Did you
Yeah,
do any newspaper ads or anything?
No, because think about it. When you're locked out of your car, it's not like you have a go-to guy. Like, oh yeah, I got a guy. It's just you just type into Google like I'm locked out of my car, and there's no trusted business. It's just whoever pops up first and says I can be there right now is the one you go with. So that was me, just Sammy G. What up?
Sammy
How
G,
often does this
mobile
happen?
locksmith.
How often do people lock themselves out of their car?
200 times a day in LA County. You go to Google Keyword Planner, it'll show you the exact search volume of everyone looking for something in a particular area.
Okay, great.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand.
Carry on. That's interesting.
Yeah, but I would do maybe 3 or 4 jobs a day. So it was making, yeah.
A living.
But anyways,
Enough.
if I did assist in crime by busting people into their cars, I think I offset that by the good that I knew that I was doing. Because I remember some of the people, they got kids stuck in their car and it's hot outside, and you're helping someone get their baby. So the net good, I think, outweighed the bad.
I agree. It was, you know what? It was just a thought. There's no need to dwell on the past, but
Sure. Yeah. So anyways, summertime ends. Are any other questions about the California days?
let me make sure I got everything. So you are training in the
Yep.
morning, you're mobile locksmithing in the afternoon to make
Oh yeah,
enough
and then
to...
the evenings, mornings, sprints, afternoons, napping / waiting for calls to come in, like Mr. Incredible and Frozone in the car, waiting for the police scanner. Yeah, oh, right there. And then, so that's my recovery. And then evenings, lifts. So we had a gym that I'd go to with my coach, and
What
we
are
do
you
work.
eating as you're living out of your car?
Yeah, so like I said, for breakfast, we're having bread and mass gainer I also had spinach. So you got carbs, protein, greens, big three.
Some micronutrients in there.
That's all you need.
Yeah, and then in the afternoon, I would give myself an actual lunch. So I'd go to either like Chipotle or Chick-fil-A. Chipotle, just get like a regular massive burrito. Or Chick-fil-A, I'd get the chicken Cobb salad. And then the evening, bread and mass gainer again. So
What kind of bread are we talking? Like Wonder Bread? Are we talking whole grain?
I think
whatever
it was
on
just,
sale?
bro. I don't know if this is helpful. It's probably leading people in the wrong direction.
No, it's
Nutritional advice
not.
for me. But it was just I think it was just like white bread from like the.
No,
Yeah.
the reason why you might think that, right? Because it's not like the optimized diet, but the reason why it's not leading people in the wrong direction is because a lot of people look at a weight gain or their diet with training as this sort of like this secret key or this secret plan or information that is a make or break. And I think that leads people astray to focus on something that is important. Your nutrition and diet is really important, as you knew, because you had to have all your stuff, right? You had to gain weight, you had to be able to perform, you had to fuel the body. But I think when people seek too much to optimize really anything, they get lost in that complexity that kind of takes you away from, well, we're training here. We're just doing the work. We're moving the weight. We're doing the sprints. We're eating the calories. I need to gain 20 pounds. Well, what about this elaborate recipe? A lot of, I would say, 18 to 23-year-olds are not going to get up and make an elaborate, like super healthy meal plan every single day. So the idea is that you can see success, dude. Grab mass gainer, bread, and some vegetables. Like, yeah, it's not the best. It's not a long-term diet. I would not recommend you eating this for the next 30 years of your life. You would probably suffer some sort of health complication if you were to do that for your whole life. But if you have a goal that's on the clock where time is sensitive and it will pass over time and you need to get something done, you can't really afford to, spend a month or two optimizing your diet while you're still struggling to hit your macronutrients. So
that
that's
was
why
my goal, was just like body weight in grams and protein. What's the simplest way to get that? Am I getting enough water? Do I have creatine, and do I have enough energy to be able to do the outputs in the weight room? And that's where I came with, bread.
That's why I said I don't think you should be worried about leading people astray, because the main goal with a lot of these things is you have a set period of time. You need to hit these numbers. Whatever works for you, whatever you can get down, like get into your mouth and consume, that is the best one. The best one is the best food and nutrition plan is the one that you consume.
Yep.
And works.
You actually do.
So you
Brandon?
show up to BYU end of the summer. Oh, Brandon, did you have something to say?
No.
You show up to BYU end of the summer.
Show up
You
to
got a
BYU.
great tan. You got a great
End of the
tan, I
summer.
assume.
Yes. Yeah. I feel better. And for the first time, I felt a sense of confidence that this was actually going to work out. We timed my 40 at the end. So at the initial 40, I did a 5, I think it was like a 5.13 or something when they timed me at the start of summer. End of summer, we got me down to a 4.63, and I was weighing 2.0. It was like pretty much right on the dot of what the coaches had told me to get. And I was like, I did it. They gave me a score list and I've checked the boxes. And then this is like the final, I think, important lesson for potential walk-ons, kind of coming back to that crowd. First, get the numbers, the metrics from the coaches. If you can get that, that's gold. And then second, know that even once you do, that there's still a lot of self-advocacy that has to happen. So I get back to BYU and I show up and I say, all right, I'm ready for walk-ons. And they tell me, hey, we canceled tryouts due to COVID. And I was like, what? And I guess that makes sense. They're like, yeah, we can't have everyone in the same room at the same time. So no tryouts this year. Sorry. The old me would have been like, that's that. But this time, like, I knew, like, they had given me numbers, I'd hit them, that this was not going to be the end. So I came back to the coach's office. Like, I felt like, go back. And I went back. It was a Monday night and I peeked into the coach's offices one at a time, like looking to see, like, there's got to be someone there I can plead my case to. I'm not asking for nepotism. I'm just saying I've done what you asked and I want to show that to you. And I brought my cleats, and the last hall on the right, there was a room that just had film going on repeat, like watching film back, and I was like, huh? And I looked to the left and it was the head coach, Coach Tataki. I said, Coach, what's up, bro? I said, hey, I brought my cleats. My name's Sam Allred. You guys gave me some numbers to hit as a walk-on. And if you want to look out your window right there, I'd love to go down to that field if you have a stopwatch and just show you that I've hit the numbers that you asked me to hit. And then he said, oh, you're Sam. Like, we know who you are. I'm like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, we've been seeing the stuff you sent us. He's like, and I know that you have hit them. I saw the videos. I'm like, great. He says, it's true we can't do tryouts this year, but what we can do for you is we'll do a 2-week trial period where if you show up to practice tomorrow, we'll give you some pads. We'll give you 2 weeks to prove yourself. And if we like you by the end of 2 weeks, then we'll take you on to the program. And so the next morning I was at practice, and that was, I was like, it was unreal. It was such a quick transition from like, this is a dream for years and years and years and years. And all of a sudden I'm there. I'm like, what's going on? I'm doing warm-ups, all these guys I've been watching on TV. And like, it was a very weird feeling. Like, I felt like I'd been airdropped out of my life into someone else's life. Yeah. It's still hard to describe, like, the whiplash of like something that you want for so long actually happening.
And then you get on the field, and do you feel like you belong, or you're like, this is, I don't know, I'm unsure now. I got these 2 weeks of practice. I don't know if I can run fast now, but I don't know if my football skills are good enough. Or
yeah, it was so demanding instantly. That was a big shocker. Like, instantly, the amount of volume they were having us doing in the weight room, the amount of the pace of practice, it was so crazy overwhelming right out of the gates in a great way. I was just so swept up in it that I totally forgot I was on a 2-week trial. To me, it was just like, I'm in the middle. I'm just been thrown into the thick of this raging furnace, and I am trying to stay alive and not get chewed out by my coaches. And I was just like in the middle of it. And I'd forgotten until 2 weeks later when I got the text saying, like, it was almost like a by the way. And they spelled my name wrong on the text too. It said Sam Allred, 1L. I'm like, oh, whatever. They're like, now that you are officially part of the team. And I was like, hold up. I'm officially part. Was it? Oh, okay, cool. We need you to fill out this extra paperwork so that we can get it added to your class schedule or whatever. All right. So it was more like a formality at that point. But that's another thing entirely that we can talk about now or some other time, about just the level of demand that I went through. Even though it was only one season, I only played my senior year, but that I just had so many brutal memories of that time in like a good way, but just like the pace.
Because you're going from not being in school, right? You're going not being in school to, and I would argue that the FBS college football schedule is the most demanding from a time and physical sense, scheduling wise, in college.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the hardest schedule. I don't know if I know the decathletes in college, it's a pretty grueling.
Yeah, my 1 year
From
in
a
the
physical-
decathlon was terrible.
I know
time-wise.
that and maybe wrestling at the highest
Yeah.
level. Like, those are the
Yeah.
two other that come to mind in terms of demanding. But you're going from, you don't get put into the freshman, like they build you up, like this is what you're doing. You're going from nothing to the most demanding,
Yeah.
right? Where you have to figure out your own schedule now. Everything is completely structured, and you got to get through day after day and perform. Because I guess you made it through the 2 weeks, but I remember when I was a walk-on, I always felt that you always kind of had to prove yourself. You always, especially like the first year, I was in a very much first 2 years, I was very much in the mindset of like you had to prove yourself. So going from no school to that is like a huge demanding transition. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can talk about that if you have some stories from that, because I know that that is a
Yeah, I think like a few memories that stand out is like, so on the scout teams, you start off on the scout team in football, on like the scout team defense. So every week we would be introduced to like a whole new schema that we were supposed to like memorize and replicate of the other team. And if you don't, then like the OC is mad at you, the other players are mad at you. But also if you know it too well and you like go hard and you accidentally knock someone over, you call the play too well, then everyone's pissed at you. So like you're just walking on eggshells the entire time. You're like always doing everything wrong, and they're not being nice.
What
to you at
position
all.
are you playing? What position did they stick you at to have you do?
Yeah, so I played safety, and that's what like I was trying out at. But they put me at corner, which I'd never played before. They'll just put you wherever they need you. They don't really care what your preference is. It's wherever they are trying to fill a spot for the walk-ons on scout team, anyways. And I remember like one of us, pretty much every practice, one person would go down with like a pretty serious injury. And it was always like, move the line up 5 yards. And then you're just leaving your brother there. And he's lying there. He's like in tears. Staff is taking him away. Sometimes you never even see him again. Like that's the end of his career because he's a walk-on and he's not a scholarship guy. So it's just boom. And then there's some other walk-on that they take in the next day who's like in their pipeline. And so that was one thing I always remember is just like, you just ignore the fact that your buddy's lying back there on the ground with some injury. And like, I remember in the weight room, I remember one time, like I hit my head really hard as I was like running past a squat rack to like get from this lift to this lift. And I remember the head strength coach just grabbing me like this and saying, "Oh, you piece of what are you?" And he threw me back. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, told me to quit dicking around, and I was like embarrassing my lifting partner, all this stuff. I was like, "Whoa!" So there's like the mental side of it too. Like these coaches don't really particularly. Some of them maybe do, but as a whole, they don't particularly like me or care whether or not I succeed. It's all about the program and their goals. And if you're helping them towards it, great. If not, you are so disposable. And that was my first time ever being in that environment. That's, I guess, like professional sports environment as a whole is just knowing that you are like a wheel on a car. Like you're helping the thing move forward or you're going to get kicked to the curb so quick. And all of these, I'm making it sound bad, but all of these are all experiences that I wanted to have. I wanted to be in that kind of environment and to like see this for myself and be with people who are giving everything they have to football. Like that was always the dream. And now to actually be in it, I guess I'm surprised that I was still so surprised by that level of professional seriousness that you'll see at a D1, I'm sure other, D2 and D3 programs.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's one hell of a story.
Yeah.
One hell of a part of the story.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
we know it doesn't even stop there. If you've made it this far, which I don't know how you wouldn't, because this is, I would argue, one of the most compelling stories of any of the athletes that I've met over a long span of time, meeting a lot of interesting athletes. Sam doesn't stop, his athletic career doesn't stop here.
I got to
right?
interject. I got to say one thing about Sam, man. The first time when you kind of told me when you were working, you had worked with Gary and stuff, and you told me this story about, I packed up my car, to just go, not even like, didn't even have a preferred walk-on status at BYU, just to go try out. I thought that was insane, right? And that was like, it's like the iceberg meme, right? That was like the tip of the Sam Allred iceberg. And like 7 continents and dragon boating and all this shit is at the very bottom. So it's just incredible. It's just incredible to hear this story. I mean, every time you tell it, I hear more and more details that I didn't know before.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Maybe that's why I didn't have that visceral disdain for Sam when I first met him, because I was introduced to him probably by you or Karsten or somebody. And it was just like, oh yeah, he walked on at BYU. I was like, oh, this guy knows like a huge chunk of like Otto lore, whether or not we've shared it. Like he totally understands. He has a lot of those same experiences. So like, I'm going to like him no matter what.
I love that. I appreciate it, man. I'm glad, Brandon, that you went from my biggest op to my biggest hype, man.
I'm going to go that far, but
no, man. All love to you too, though, dude.
Did you get on the field at all during any of the games or no?
No. The peak of my walk-on time was I picked off Zach Wilson in practice one time, and the team voted me Scout Team Player of the Week, and I made the BYU Instagram page. They posted me, and it was me there smiling. Yeah, but that was as high as I climbed on the BYU football ladder in my one season. They were going to take me out to the bowl game. Normally the whole team travels for that one, but with COVID, they only took the travel squad. So it was basically only travel squad would go to any of even the home games.
That's pretty good considering you didn't play a snap of varsity high school football, Sam. I don't think that
to
you
take
think
it off Zach Wilson.
And to put it in perspective, like if you look at the statistics, I don't have them in front of me, but of how such a small percentage of high school football players go on to play college, then Division II, FCS, FBS, to go from not playing a snap of varsity football, you have a career-ending injury with an ACL going into your senior year, and then years later through, I don't know, the most statistically rare experiences that a high school football player from Texas could ever experience, you make it onto the BYU football team your senior year. I think that's something, this is why I told Brandon I'll have to put some of this in writing and elaborate more on it, because it's one thing to have a conversation, but I think to understand how rare that was. And that's something when I think of personally, I'm sure you've thought of this a lot of times, when I think of how faith plays into sport, it's tough to explain those statistics and numbers of when you've met someone with that kind of rare experience without kind of being like, hey, there's something here, man. If this guy's leaning on his faith, like how else do you explain that? Right. You could say, well, Sam's just awesome. Maybe he has a gene that just needs to, be under stress to express itself. Like you could try to explain it a multitude of ways, but it makes you really think and appreciate how much value there is in believing in yourself more so than anything else, and that you can do things. It just might be, you might just have to travel the world and live out of your car to accomplish your dream, but it is entirely possible. And I think that it's a really inspiring story. And I hope we'll try to send this out to as many people as possible. I hope that it might flip somebody's perspective on what they can accomplish, because I think it's a really, really special story. And I think it's really needs to be heard by as many people as possible. And I thank you very much for sharing that with us, allowing us to host this story.
Yeah.
Or at least the first part of it.
Yeah.
Because we're not even done.
Well, I guess our story ends where it begins. And that is after graduating, putting in all this work to finally make it onto. There was sort of a sense of like, this is where I sail off into the sunset and disappear. It's done. It is finished. But I'm like, but I'm still alive. It's like, now what? And so I remember I was like, once again, just back on Google, looking like, all right, what are Olympic sports you can get into in your 20s and still have a shot of making it to the games? And that's when I saw that Team USA, bobsled and skeleton, was having tryouts. So that's how I met Brandon. That's how I met you.
Did you basically go right into tryouts like after you graduated? Like how much time off and stuff did you take?
No time off, really. I graduated and then I was out at my rookie camp with Brandon and Otto 3.5 months later.
And I was after.
Welcome back.
Oh, no, that's right. Yeah, you were 1 year later.
Wait, what year did you graduate, Sam?
22.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then
graduate from college.
I mean, we can get into that dream too. Like that's crazy.
I think we stop here because this is almost an hour, and we just end it with the to be continued.
Well, and maybe for the to be continued. The three of us, we all are now on this journey together. Of, we're chasing the Olympic dream, man, and that's the goal. The rings that's the mountain that we're climbing. It's a privilege to climb it together. We can all share maybe our experiences of like what this totally metric driven, sane, unsupported, heavenly hellscape of a journey has been for all of us. Because there's so much to it for all of us, man.
I think there's a lot, and Brandon and I have talked about this too. There's a lot that those experiences as former walk-ons that you go through that I think prep you especially well for those kind of underfunded Olympic sports, because I think a lot of people come in where, not to say there's a lot of entitlement, but I think it's a bit of a shock where it's like, what do you mean I have to move these 400-pound sleds for 6 hours? Like, it's my rest day. What are you talking about? Yeah. And it's just like, do the work, scout player. Yes. So yeah, we'll cover that in another one. Cool. But yeah, thanks, Sam. I thought that was awesome.
Thank you guys. This is great.
Incredible story, Sam.
Was
I know you're coming out.
Your teammate?
He was. So I overlapped with him in the training room right as he was transferring. We met once or twice, but we were never on the field at the same time. No, his heyday started immediately after me. Yeah.
And Sam, I know you're coming out to the West Coast. I know that there's a very slight but loyal group of West Coast listeners in my ecosystem. My boy's looking for employment opportunities, the best salesman I know. So just throwing that
Appreciate
out
the
there
plug.
because I know there's a handful of people that are going to make it to the end of this podcast. So
Yep.
hit his line, hit me or him up. Sam, where can viewers find you, by the way,
Thanks.
social media?
Yeah. You can, if you are listening and you are hoping to walk on, or if you're a coach and want to learn more about the walk-on process for your athletes, I know my journey is not typical, but I'm happy to share answer any questions you have. Reach out to me. I'm so happy to help out anyone who's trying to go through this as well. So you can message me on Instagram. I'll message you right back. SammyG_Allred, or you can even text me. I don't mind giving out my number, 972. And hit my line. Happy to help out. If I get too many texts, which I don't think would be a problem, but if I do, then I'll change my number. But
He will
that's how you can
respond in
reach me.
2 months.
That's right. But I will respond.
That's real, though. That's real.
Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all. This has been great. Go good. You guys rock.